Let's welcome Christine Skinner.
I've prepared this really on the back of what has been an excruciatingly difficult month here. And I built this around the kind of questions that my clients have been asking and how I've been dealing with the approach of Saturn and the approach of Pluto. But I think we're all agreed that we're standing on the edge of new worlds. Now, supposing you weren't an astrologer, right? Supposing you didn't know anything about this stuff, what would you actually know? What would you be picking up on now? So there is this sense, I think, for anybody who's at all interested in what's going on in the sky, that something is happening. So there is this sense of it does feel as though we're in this cuspal thing. And I loved the fact that Leanne was talking about the fact that we're in these anaretic degrees, which from my work is I see absolutely crucial. You know, you see the person with the anaretic moon and discover that they really are rubbish at looking after themselves. But once you explain, but as you talk to them and explain this anaretic thing, there's something that they understand, they get hold of, and it does improve the situation. So if we were able to talk to newspapers and things, if we could explain that we're on the cusp of these enormous changes, maybe it would help a few people. But I need to think about who we are and how are my clients approaching all of this. I think that Leanne was touching on this really beautifully, where she's talking about the genetic codes and how are we, because we're learning how to control the codes, how are we going to maintain the love factor, if you like, the emotional factor, inside the fact that we can manufacture. And all of that is far too difficult and too complicated to explain to your average client who's just come in and is saying, what am I going to do with my wealth? What's going to happen, Christine? Am I going to be able to buy food next week? You know, prices are going up. How long will inflation last? Will interest rates rise? Is there going to be a property crash? Those are the fundamentals. Those are the things that I've been dealing with in the last month. And I just want to show you how I've been dealing with it, which is not to say that this is the correct approach. It's just how I have been dealing with it. I think of us all as being like radios. And you come in with your radio preset. So you come in as, I don't know, a Scorpio, Taurus, or whatever, and you're tuned to hear certain frequencies. Now, it doesn't necessarily, supposing you said, for example, that you felt that anybody, you know, either Taurus or Scorpio was very good and had financial acumen. I don't think it necessarily means they've got that. I think that they're fine-tuned to trying to achieve it. And because they're trying to get to the right station, if you like, because they're working on it, most of the time they achieve it, and it seems that they achieve it better than other people who are actually trying to tune into something different. As you go through life, of course, and you getting older, whether or not you use progressions, converse or direct, whatever, you adjust and you fine-tune your radio station. And at sometimes you can hear signals that you would not have heard, say, 20 years ago. And what happened for all of us just a few years ago, I think we would agree, is that when we had that massive conjunction, that incredible thing, and we were all asked to stop, right? Stop, and not necessarily preset, but consider who we were, right? I don't know about the rest of you, but I had to do a manual for my children. In case I die, these are the codes. That's what you need, right? This is here, this is there. Things that a year ago, a year previously, I wouldn't have considered doing. But I think we were all called to account to consider why we were here, how long we might be, what was going to happen post-COVID. Were you going to have the vaccination? Were you not going to have the vaccination? It was a time of tremendous pressure on each of us that Leanne articulated really beautifully. But now, of course, we're sort of coming back into a new world, but it is only sort of. because I think we're all accepting that we can't go back. There is no going back. And where would you want to reset the dial? If you could go back, what would you want it to be? Because actually we haven't been looking after the planet very well for a long time. What age would you like to be in? Every age has had its difficulty. Now, with any luck, we are all of us going to live all the way through Pluto going into an Aquarius. And unless it skips a sign, it will then go into Pisces, right? Which at the moment we're not even considering, right? Leanne is saying very beautifully, yes, after Saturn's gone into Pisces, actually it's going into Aries, and that's a whole other story.
I'm interested in how to interpret the ingress charts. Does the ingress chart apply for the whole cycle? I mean, can you break it down in a kind of time frame?
Yeah, do you mean like a ingress, like I suppose we do a ingress chart for Saturn ingress to Pisces, and this chart cover the whole period of Saturn in Pisces?
Yes, I would like in general to know how to read an ingress chart. That would be very useful. Thank you.
I think you can look at it in two ways. I think it describes the moment and what we should expect at that particular time, but it does flavour the duration that the planet will be in that sign. You know, we can do ingress charts for all the planets, but in this particular instance, it was Pluto. For Pluto and Aquarius, for flavouring the 20 years ahead, for good, for that 20 years. So that would be the third chart. That's going to give a hint and a flavour of the themes that are ahead. But I think it does describe the immediate times as well. I don't know what Christine thinks.
I would absolutely agree with you, because that's the ruler, really. That's the one that gives you most information, particularly with Pluto. If you look back on well, for me anyway, looking back, described best that period.
Wow, cool.
Wow, thank you. That's really useful.